South Carolina made wholesaling illegal. It's not a rumor. That's the law. And yet Hayden Albert has done over 200 deals here in the Lowcountry with a team of 12, spending between $40,000 and $50,000 a month in marketing. And he's not slowing down. This recording is from Grid Charleston, a monthly real estate investor meetup right here in Charleston, South Carolina, where we bring people together who are actually doing deals. Hayden went full-time into real estate after 9 years in the military. He built his company from scratch, hired the wrong people, fired nearly everyone, rebuilt, and figured out how to operate a wholesaling business the day it became illegal in this state. In this conversation of our recording, you're going to learn exactly how deals are still getting done, the difference between wholesaling and assigning, how Hayden's team finds off-market deals, and how they're building their buyers list under the new state law, and what he'd do in his first 90 days if he were starting over today. Here's the conversation. Be sure to like and subscribe to our Grid Charleston so that you may get future recordings of similar conversations. Hey, thank you guys so much for coming out. Just by raise your hand if this is your first evening Grid Charleston event. Give a round of applause. Thank you guys for coming out tonight. So Grid Charleston, for those of you who don't know, our entire mission is to do deals, build wealth, and create impact together. So working with each other. It could be a lonely world, real estate investing. So we firmly believe that, working together, it just makes it much better to partner. So a little bit about myself. My name is Paul Kelton. I'm your host this evening. I'm in real estate brokerage. I've been doing it for 6 years. I'm also in property management. I'm just here locally in the Charleston market. Before we get started, I just want to take 2 minutes. I just want to thank our sponsors, the people who are able to put this on and to make this event free. So I'm just going to run through real quick, less than a minute per sponsor. Coastal Equity Group here. Do you mind just saying, just briefly what you guys do and what was that? Yes, yeah.
You guys funded like a $900,000 loan like a couple weeks ago for us. So
yeah. All right. Tide Property Management.
Agents, we do 700.
All right. Thank you. And I also just want to shout out Manatee Real Estate for just letting us use the room. This is a huge help for us. It makes this event completely 100% free. Let's just give a round of applause for our sponsors. Thank you so much. Most importantly, this event is about you guys tonight and about taking away value. So before we get started with our special guest and introducing the topic, just want to flip it back to you guys. Just take 2 minutes, introduce yourselves to the people across from you at the table. Just say what your name is and why you're here tonight. So and if you already have, go grab some pizza, go grab some drinks, get ready because it's going to be a wild ride in a few minutes. So let's take 2 minutes and let's bring it back together. Tonight, our topic is how to legally wholesale in South Carolina. So as you guys know, a little bit of background. Was it last year or was it 2 years ago?
2 years ago.
2 years ago, they passed a law in South Carolina making it illegal to wholesale, a specific term. People are still getting deals done. There's definitely a market need for it. So we are going tonight to discuss how deals are still getting done in this manner. So, I racked my brain. I was like, how can I provide a lot of value to this room? Who can I bring in? And my immediate thought was Hayden Albert. Hayden has been doing this for years and he's done hundreds of transactions. He's really well known within the market. He has a good business. So I'm really excited to welcome up Hayden. So can we give a round of applause for Hayden? All right, Hayden, just kind of give us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. So thanks guys for coming. Looks like we got standing room now. So it's pretty killer. There's 2 seats up here if you guys want to. There we go. Yeah. So I was military for about 9 years. And then I decided to go out on my own and kind of do this thing called real estate. And it's been a hell of a journey. I've loved every bit of it. It's definitely sucked. This is hard. Everything is hard if it's worth doing. But back in 2022, I decided to step away from the military and go full-time real estate. And it's been great. The term, I'll tell you some more about me, but for the term on the title, wholesaling is illegal. That's true. There's no way to legally wholesale, but there is. So that's the end of the meeting. There's ways to assign contracts, which is the main part of wholesaling, and that was the main key distinguishing point of wholesaling and assigning. There's ways to do it, so I'll go into that. But A little bit more about me. After I went full time, I hired all the wrong people. I was just super excited to have anybody that would work for me. And so I just, hired some friends, hired random people, and it just was shit. It was terrible. They made every excuse and I made every excuse for them. And I just didn't really have a real business. And so I did that for probably two years of just trying to figure it out. Back in 2020, if you guys remember, if you were in real estate or around real estate, you know how crazy the housing market was, the interest rates and everything. I was trying to find deals and it was extremely competitive. There was tons of money. The deals were hard to find. This cheapest debt in history, 0% from the Fed. It was crazy. It was awesome. But the deals were the hardest thing to find. And I found myself going to every wholesaler's, showing and walking their property and trying to bid against 20 other people. And people would roll up in G Wagons and I'd be there like, oh shit, like in my military uniform trying to do this damn thing. And I started backwards. I was doing the Burr strategy, then I did a flip and then a rental. And then I finally wholesaled. And then I kind of just been doing that ever since, among other things. But um, yeah, and so back in 2022, it started to slow down a little bit as far as the debt and the interest rates started to take back up. The market cooled off a tad. And then going into 2023, it really kind of cooled off compared to COVID. And so I just was like, I need to start a company that finds deals because I saw my assignment fee to somebody I bought a deal from and they made 20 grand where I was stuck there doing a flip for 6 months and fighting termites. And it was terrible. And I was like, wow, that person just made a bunch of money and they're out of the deal in 2-3 weeks. So I built a company, hired some people, and really just cut my teeth on figuring that out. You can read as many books as you want. You can listen to all the podcasts. You can be in all the right rooms, but really learning how to run a business and you have to just go through the trenches and figure it out. Unless you have maybe a mentor that's a business partner or somebody that's done it before, because I just made a lot of mistakes, which was good. I've made mistakes fast so that I could grow and, fall forward. And that's what I did for a few years. And then back in 2020, probably is when I brought on my now vice president of the company, hired him, and the business just took a complete 180. He was way overqualified. He wanted $100,000 a year, and I was like, I can't afford you. And then he just told me one day, he's like, I don't care what you pay me. I just need to quit my job and do this and give this a shot. So he came on and he's been a huge success. And we fired everybody on the team except for him. He was the last man standing. And it was good. It was warranted. It was needed. I was out there running my projects and my team was in the office just screwing around. And I was like, okay, well, time to reset. And so we brought in Hunter, it was his name, and we reset the whole company. And now I've really brought in a lot of A players and people that really get it. And so the business has been great for the last couple years. And it was actually so funny, this topic. I hired Hunter the day wholesaling became illegal. And so he left his $120,000 a year job running hotels and comes and he's like uprooted his family and he's like, hey, this thing you hired me for, it's illegal. I was like, yeah, we'll figure it out. It wasn't even a thing for me to question. It was like, well, I will do whatever it takes. There's still people dying, still people that need to sell their homes because they're hoarders. Like there's still situations where I can help them get through these situations as sellers. And so there's still opportunities out there. Houses are actively decaying. Well, termites are still happening. There's so many opportunities out there. There's no way that any law can stop what we do. It's just going to change it. And I saw that and I was like, well, if I can figure this out, I'm going to be 10 steps ahead of everybody else that just quits. And so everybody from out of state quit. Everybody that didn't have real businesses didn't make it. Everybody panicked. A lot of people tried to sell their wholesaling businesses just because they weren't making money. And I was like, we're going to figure this out. So I think it was May 2 years ago when it was illegal, I just bought every deal. So instead of trying to wholesale them, I was like, I'm going to buy them. And so if you guys have never bought a flip, who's never bought a flip? A lot of people. Awesome. That's kind of daunting, right? Like I'm just going to buy every deal. So I just had to come up with all this money, but I was in a position where I've had done enough deals and I was able to buy them. I had good debt partners, different people that allowed us to do that. But while I was buying these projects, I realized that the interest on all of these houses, monthly payments a lot. So if you buy I think I might have bought 7, all kind of like in a month or 2. And the monthly payment every month is, 30, 40 grand. Once you add all those up, I'm like, shit, okay, this is hard. I just was racking up some debt and trying to figure it out. We were doing some deals, some quick deals that looked like wholesaling, and we were just making some money. I figured it out. I got through it. But now, after I got through it, it's been like shooting fish in a barrel. I have so many deals. We are doing really good. I mean, the team is amazing. We got good people with us, but we made it through that hard part. And so I'll dive into kind of what wholesaling is and what the law says and how we can do this. So I've done just over 200 deals here locally, most of them in the Tri County area. I have a team of around 12 people, and we all will do wholesaling, we'll flip, we did a neighborhood. So Scott and I did a neighborhood. We've done private gated neighborhoods. We've done new construction. We've done everything. I flipped land, all those fun things. But it all comes down to finding good deals. That is the cornerstone of a real estate business, is being able to find good deals. If you can't find good deals, then you don't really have a business. You're just out there hoping that through osmosis or something, you just find deals randomly. Like, you have to be able to find deals. And so I built my entire company around just getting the biggest funnel I possibly could and collecting as many opportunities daily as I could. So wholesaling, it is the state of South Carolina. That's the Real Estate Commission of South Carolina, has 10 people on it. 9 of them are real estate agents. So who's a real estate agent? Okay. 9 of them are real estate agents, and 1 of them is a real estate attorney. So they made a law about wholesalers, right? Because we're bad, right? So do you guys have an opinion about wholesalers? Are wholesalers bad? There is a negative opinion a lot of times around wholesaling. A lot of real estate agents, wholesalers, butt heads because they don't understand each other's businesses. And I think working together and figuring out what we actually do and understanding each other is probably the best thing, because I love real estate agents. They give us so many opportunities, and I give them a lot of opportunities if they understand how to work in the off market space. So the Real Estate Commission comes up with this law, and it essentially says it defines wholesaling, which is marketing of a property that you do not own. Just boil that all the way down. So anything that you do not own, you cannot market it without a real estate license. And so that's like, okay, so now if I have a real estate license, I can wholesale. Then it goes down a couple more pages, and it says, if you're a real estate licensee, or you hold a real estate license, it is illegal to wholesale. So what they did is they got you. So they had to establish jurisdiction over wholesalers, because the Real Estate Commission is for real estate agents. So they loosely. And so they had to establish that they could write laws about us over in the Wild West, the wholesalers. And so they established jurisdiction over us, and they said, okay, you must be licensed in order to wholesale. And then they said it was illegal. And so they defined wholesaling as marketing of a property you do not own. And so that law gets written. It's like 10 or 20 pages.
Can you describe how the wholesaling process works in other states, or how it worked in South Carolina before the law changed?
Yeah. So has anybody who has done a wholesale deal? Okay, so a decent amount, maybe half of you guys have done a wholesale deal. So what's wholesaling is you get a contract that you sign with the seller, and then you take your contract and you sell it for a markup. So you can make 5, 10, 20, $100,000. You can make a ton of money wholesaling. You're just selling paper, which I found selling paper is the best thing to do, because you don't have to. You have lot less liability. It's quick. It's 30-day money. You're not sitting there holding an asset. If something happens in World War III or something, you're good, because you selling paper. But it's kind of like you're like a one trick pony. So if you can only wholesale and you can't flip or do anything else, sometimes you can get in trouble. And so you get this contract, you find a buyer. So then you go, and if it's a dilapidated house, you go and get it at a discount. And then you go to buyers, other people in investment groups, and you network with them, and you say, hey, do you want this deal? And they say, yep, I'll buy that. I see the photos. I'll walk the house. I'll buy it for 200 grand, and maybe you have it for 180. So like, awesome, great. I'm going to make 20 grand. Then you submit it to title. Title goes through, and you close it, and you make your net profit of $20,000. Cool thing is you're not paying any fees. You're not paying any commissions. It's just, that's your profit. And so a lot of times when you flip a home, you're like, oh, cool. I bought it for 100 and I sold it for 300 after I renovated it. Closing costs on one side, real estate commissions on the other. You don't really ever, once you like really figure it out, you don't really know what you made until you sit there with your accountant for an hour and calculate those numbers.
So what changed? So in that process you just described from like getting the paper signed with the seller through going and, finding the buyer for it and everything, what specifically like real world changed in that process for you?
They said that you could not market. So the law is around marketing. So how do you sell something you don't own without marketing it? It's impossible, right? So it essentially makes it completely illegal. But the gray area is if somebody asks you, this is so silly, but this is what the real estate commissions themselves told me on a Zoom call. I have it recorded, so I'm gonna go with that. If somebody reaches out to me, so if you guys reach out to me after this and you say, hey, do you have any deals that you would sell? And I'd be like, actually, I got these 5 houses that I'm going to flip, but I'll assign my contract to you if you want to buy them. I can then wholesale. And so I can assign a contract to you and then you can purchase it that way. So it's hard to sell a deal you can't market. So we have to get creative. I got to train all my buyers to reach out to me periodically when they want deals so that I can assign all these deals that I have. The thing that separates a real business and somebody that's out there with no money trying to wholesale and they're borrowing $20 in gas to drive to somebody's house to sign a contract, is that I can actually close on this. So that the law was written around protecting the consumer, and the consumer is the seller in this case. They protect the seller because wholesalers were going out, they wouldn't put EMD on the contracts. They would get grandma under contract, run 100 people through the house, and then 2 days before closing, they would hit her with a $50,000 reduction, and she's already moved to a different state. Like that's what they're trying to prevent is things like that happening to the consumer or people that don't know any better. Because these are some of these people are in the worst situations of their lives. If you guys don't know, off market real estate is out. The main thing we're doing is solving people's problems. People might be, if you guys have seen my videos, they might be hoarders. Somebody might have passed away or a divorce or whatever situation. You got to think this is the worst time in their lives, and we're there trying to help them. And so you have to be a good person and you have to do right by them. And so when you actually have a real business and you understand this, you can go to a seller and say, listen, here's my math. Here's what I have to be at. Here's what it's going to cost to fix your house. You understand I'm going to make money, right? Like in order for me to do this, I have to make money. Usually they agree. And then you give them a realistic price that works for both people. And usually, you can go look at our Google reviews. Our sellers are giving us 5-star reviews and we're buying their house at 50 cents on the dollar. So
So tell me, I guess it sounds like kind of like boiling down this is you are a home flipper looking for deals, and then you have people who reach out to you about maybe getting you assigning the interest in your contracts to them, right?
mhm,
That's like pretty much kind of how the business model has shifted,
mhm.
right? So it's a lot on deal flow, which it has been before and it is now. What are you, and you built your entire team around deal flow and finding these really great off market deals. What are you seeing like, different channels? What are you seeing work really well to find these off market deals?
So when you're first getting started, you're looking for things that are free or cheap, right? So you're skip tracing. Does everybody know what skip tracing is? Who doesn't know what skip tracing is? Okay. Skip tracing is well, essentially, let me go one more step back. We're out here trying to find these motivated sellers, right? And so you can go online and you can pull lists of people that are typically motivated. So you can go and you can pull a list of people that are over 75 years old. Maybe they live in a 2-story house and maybe they've owned their home for 40 years and and you could even filter it for equity. Maybe they have at least 200 grand in equity. And so once you filter all those things, you put it into a list. I've skip traced all of Charleston, Berkeley, and Dorchester County. Every single person I've probably called at some point if they own a house. But that was when I was just getting started. And that's a lot cheaper because you can get lists for, a couple $100. Whereas what I've shifted to your question, is more inbound marketing. So you have two different things. We have outbound marketing and inbound marketing. And somebody tell me what either one of those is. Who knows what outbound marketing is? Okay. So you're reaching out to somebody. So that's outbound. You're sending them mail, you're calling them, you're emailing them, you're door knocking them. You're going outbound to them. What's inbound? They call you. Yes. And so, isn't that amazing? Where I have somebody calling me that wants to sell me their house. That's the best place to be. is somebody that's raised their hand, midnight, 5 a.m., doesn't matter. They go online or however my funnel works, whatever channels I'm using, they go online and they find who I am and they fill out our form or the lead gets submitted. And then we give them a call because they have raised their hand and they say that they want to sell. So inbound marketing is what we have primarily shifted to. And that is a mix of like Google ads, PPL, which is pay per lead, and then social media and branding is kind of our third. And so that's where every day we get bunch of leads that hit our phones and then the guys go out there and attack them. But it's expensive. That's the problem is I spend anywhere from $40 to $50,000 a month in marketing. And so in order for me to get to that point, it took some time. And if you're new, even if I gave you all the leads that I have, you guys, not you guys, some people wouldn't be able, somebody new wouldn't be able to close them because they just don't have the skills yet. And so we've honed in on really fine tune our skills, how we talk to sellers, our wholesales process to make sure we're making the most out of those marketing dollars. Those are the three kind of main things we're focusing on inbound marketing.
So the other pipeline is the buyer's list, right?
Correct.
So what strategies do you have? I'm sure you've built up a pretty decent sized buyer's list
Mm,
over time, right? So what strategies have you been employing
yeah.
on that side?
So 3 years ago, you used to be able to just post on Facebook and say, "Hey, I have a deal," or "Who's a buyer in the market? Send me your email." And then people were just making these giant buyers lists. And what we used to do is send out mass emails to 5,000 people that have joined your buyers list with deals. And you used to be able to put together these, just like real estate agents, put together this little, like pitch deck on what the property is, photos, the description, everything, just like you see on the MLS or Zillow. And we would email those out in mass. And if you were a buyer and you got the email, you'd be like, cool, this works for me or it doesn't. And you could just sit there as a flipper and just go through your email every day and look at the new deals. And so that was what it used to be, but now that was banned because that's marketing and that's illegal. And so what we do now is we're allowed to email people and say, "Hey, are you looking for deals?" And so it's kind of like a real soft pitch. "Hey, you out there? You still hunting?" And if they respond, and then if they say, "Hey, yeah, what do you have?" Then we can go ahead and engage them and send over our opportunities. But actually building the buyers list is we have a bunch of KPIs. Essentially, my marketing girls have to go out there. There's Ashley and Michelle on my team. They're amazing. So if you guys are looking for deals, I'll give you their information. But they go out every day and they try to add 15 new buyers to our list. And they're posting in Facebook groups, going on the MLS and, finding recent listings. They're talking to real estate agents, any way that they can get somebody into our CRM that could potentially be buying a house or trying to connect with them. And so that there's a bunch of different ways that they're doing that. One of them is called Facebook snipe. And so it's a slang term where you go on other people's posts about deals. And so you can go into Charleston Real Estate Investors Group and you can say somebody might post, "Hey, I'm selling a home in this neighborhood, da 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 da." Maybe they own it and they're not illegally wholesaling. Maybe they do own it. And 10 people post their emails. They say, "Yeah, I'm interested. Send me the deal." Then you just go on there and you snipe all those people that were looking at somebody else's deal and you add them to your list.
Mm,
And so it's just that's how
it
I find
works.
so many people. I could sell any house by going into those groups and finding people that are interested in past posts that I didn't even make. And so that's a little tip for you.
Yeah, that's great. I'm curious. So you have the flipping and you have the wholesaling. How do you internally decide as a team, this is a great opportunity, we're going to flip it? This isn't, whatever. What kind of metrics are you looking at or what are you guys doing?
I do things differently than most people. Most people cherry pick the best deals. Most people build a flipping or a new construction business and then they have to build some form of marketing, like I said at the beginning, and they use that marketing to buy the deals for themselves. What I do is my whole business is marketing and then I will just kind of I'll get my deals a different way. So here's what I do. I have two different funnels. I have my marketing side where all that money I say I spend every month, those deals come in and I assign those. I assign those to people that are looking for deals. 100% of them, unless something weird comes up where the seller is forcing us to close on it or there's tons of different situations with sellers, but for the most part, every deal that comes in, it gets sold off quickly. And that's my fast money. So I have multiple legs of the business. Every leg has caught another one at some time. So there's times where wholesaling is doing good and I'm signing contracts, I'm making a lot of money. And there's some times where I'm not making money, like in January, we paid $30,000 in just one lead source and got no closings. But my flips started to sell. And so it's all balancing out. And so what I do is all those marketing ones, we wholesale those. And then my brand and my social media is everything that I buy. And so when people send me deals, I'm buying those. And so it's twofold because it allows me to be important to other people. So when I can buy somebody's deal, they want to they want to sell me deals, they want to talk to me. If I'm the only person that can close a deal for them, well then that's good for them. We're doing each other favors and it's a win-win. And so I'm growing every side of the business by being able to buy a lot. If you can't buy and you can only wholesale, then people only need you for one thing. They're only gonna buy your deals. But if you can also buy their deals, then it's a two-way street, and you have a lot more value to the market. And so when you're asking what's the metrics, it's really just everything I can bring in through my personal brand, I close on those, and then everything come through marketing, I try to assign, and it's doubling what I'm doing. And so instead of me cherry picking, say I get 100 deals a year and I flip 25 of them, I'm still only doing 100. But if I can wholesale 100 and then flip 25, then I'm doing 125. So I'm doing more. And so that's the way I look at it is, okay, I want to do more, do and double what I'm doing. I also want my buyers to know that they can buy good deals from me. Because what happens with a lot of other wholesalers, like I described, is they're flippers at heart. And so they cherry pick the best deals. Well, when they send out deals, I don't even fucking look at them because I know they're shit. And so that's this thing is I know when so and so, I can name 5 people in this market that cherry picked all their deals. And so I know when they send a deal out, I'm like, why aren't you doing it? Why aren't you buying it? And so you don't want that stigma. So you can actually buy good deals from me. And then hopefully, if you come off a deal that you can't close, I can buy it from you. And so my buyers know that there's good deals to be had.
Awesome. That's great. Now, if someone is new, they're just getting started, they wanted to do sign a contract in the next 90 days, right? What are some, 2 or 3 things that you would impart as advice on someone like that?
The shit's hard. There's no way around it. If you're trying to get into the market, it's a hustle. You're not just gonna pay money to get leads and it's gonna go great. It's gonna be hard, but if you can make it through the first 90 and then you can keep going, you'll be good. If you see our Instagram account, you'll see my team is out there. They're hustling all the time. They work weekends. They love what they do. I've incentivized them to work hard, but they're always on a grind. I don't necessarily have to be on the same grind as them in my role, but the acquisition side is always trying to find deals. So in your first 90, here's what I would do. I would go on the county website, pull the foreclosure list, and then sort them for equity. So I would go on there and I would go to Charleston, Dorchester, whatever, Berkeley. I would find everybody that's in foreclosure. In South Carolina, it's kind of like a year-long process. So when they just hit foreclosure, they might have 11 more months until they actually get foreclosed on. So people will usually sell right when they get into the foreclosure process, right when they miss their first payment, or at the very end. In the middle, their heads in the sand. They're getting hundreds of calls a week from investors trying to buy their property. The bank's calling them. It's a shit show. Again, these people are in the worst situation of their life. And so they're not selling in that middle. But the very end, when the auction is scheduled 30 days from now, the reality has struck and they are trying to figure out their living situation and the music is stopping for them. And so they're deciding, okay, well, am I going to sell? What am I going to do? They're going to start talking to people. They're going to start panicking. That's where we go in and help and explain all of their options to keep them in their house. Or if the final option is to sell, then we will give them an offer. But those are the best people to market to. The problem is that they do not answer their phone. That list is public. So everybody and their mother is calling that list. You're not going to get those people on the phone. But if you drive to their house and knock on their door, you still probably won't get them. But start leaving them notes, right? And do it, if they're going to lose their home in 30 days, 40 days, leave them a note on their door. Come back a week later, again. And then when they're finally decided at 2 a.m., I'm going to sell. I'm going to sell. Okay. They have your note and they've had their phone blown up. Tons of people have messaged them. Those people are insignificant. They've already forgot about them. But the person that they saw on their Ring camera or that left them 5 notes that all look the same, they're like, okay, that person, they came to my house. They're probably legit. Maybe you even talked to them. Luckily, maybe you did talk to them and you had a good face-to-face conversation. The face-to-face conversation is going to go way better than a phone call. I promise you. It takes people's guards down. You're a real person. You'd be surprised. I've personally door knocked. I had a lot of success on Sundays after church on a sunny day, like 70 degrees. People are typically in a pretty good mood. But I mean, I was pleasantly surprised. I walked out, I was like, oh, this is kind of fun. I don't do it much anymore, but you'd be surprised. And so, first 90 days, you're going to track your numbers. And so, you're going to say, okay, if I want to deal in the first 90, I need to knock for 4 hours a day. I need to hit at least, 25, 100 homes, whatever it is. If you do that every week, where you go for maybe 3 days, maybe just the weekend, whatever it is, make some numbers that you can track and actually go and knock on those doors. I almost guarantee you're get a deal in your first 90. Even if you don't get it in the first 90, one of those leads will close. It might just be not be in the first 90 days. So it's going to be hard. You're going to have to go out there and spend time, drive around and do it. But that will be the highest conversion rate you have. It just takes a little bit extra work, and it's mostly free except for driving around. So that's what I would do.
Great answer. It's awesome. I'm just curious, where do you see the wholesaling business going in the next 3 to 5 years?
I hope it gets harder.
Do you think it'll get harder?
No, not here. So it's going to get harder elsewhere. The states, South Carolina has the most restrictive wholesale law. Some other states are following suit. We kind of set the precedent on this. It's illegal, it's hard, and it's the most aggressive law to date. A lot of other states are following suit. I think there's probably like 20 states that have laws around wholesaling at this point. And so nationwide, yes, it's going to get harder. Here, it's probably is about as hard as it's going to get. It's just you have to do it the right way. Where is it going to go? I think if you can adapt and change, there's two things, right? And then there's like the deal. So they go up and down. So when there's a lot of deals, there's never enough money, right? So if you think about 2008, for those of us that remember that, the housing market went to shit and there was no money. There was tons of deals. You could buy houses, you could buy tons of houses, but there's no money to fund those deals. Reverse it back to 2020, tons of money. Money is everywhere. It's free and there's no deals because everybody's buying everything. And so it's just going to pick your hard. It's going to be hard one way or the other. So you can stack your money when, money's scarce, and you can, vice versa when the tides change. And so what I'm seeing now is tons of money back in 2020, a lot less money now, but the deals are hard. And so if you can build a funnel and actually get deals, then you'll have value in your community, whether you are flipping them, assigning them, building on them, whatever that is. And it just comes down to hustling and actually finding those deals. That's never going to get easier. There's no AI that's going to be some magic pill that's going to solve this thing. 80-year-olds and 70-year-olds and these people are still going to want to sell to real people. So I think it's going to kind of stay the same. I'm not going to make any predictions on the market, but as far as wholesaling goes, I think it'll probably be pretty flat.
Right. All right. Let's turn it to you guys at your table. So I go around your table, talk about one or two takeaways, and just discuss questions that you'll have for Hayden. Let's take 10 minutes, and then we'll bring it back up front and have a live discussion. Let's make this about you. Let's get some takeaways. Let's get some questions for Hayden right there in the back.
The difference you find going straight, doing exactly what the wholesaler's doing, just going boots on the ground and finding those things.
That's a good question. It's bandwidth, right? It's like, what is your current profession right now? What do you do for a living? Okay, so I am not going to be able to hold a candle to you as with interior design. Like, why don't I just become an interior designer, or why don't I become an attorney? Why don't I just become a lender? It's because it's bandwidth. You can't really do everything. And so most flippers, they're really good at their one thing, and they have a certain amount of bandwidth. Maybe they do 2 or 3 flips at one time. They're in the trenches. They're designing it out. They're going to the project. They don't have time to run an operation like I do. I have 12 people day and night that are hustling, looking for these deals. If I'm just one flipper that has the same 12 hours in a day, they're not able to compete with me. And I've fine-tuned that business specifically to get deals and to transact on those deals. So I'm just inherently better at it than just a flipper that does it on the side. But a lot of flippers do. That's what a lot of them do is they go and then they're like, okay, I want to find some off-market deals, but their speed is a lot slower because they're typically buying every deal that they get. And so they'll go out there, they'll market to these deals, like I said, in the first 90-day scenario. They'll go market them, and then they find a deal, they buy it, and then they stop marketing. Okay. And so they're doing their flip, and then they're like, I need another deal. So they go start marketing again. And so their businesses are a lot more, like roller coaster, like it's more up and down, whereas mine is pretty level because I'm always doing the action items, the things that it takes to get new deals at a consistent basis. And so it's, they absolutely can. It's just their businesses look a little different. Does that answer your question?
Great question. Yeah. What other question from the back? What other questions?
Because with that you were mentioning earlier, sale deals, can you explain the difference when transactional financing would be needed versus signing a contract? Because I think that's a big, maybe it's a little bit.
Okay, a good question. So, I'm surprised nobody actually asked this. So, a lot of people think that double closing is the get around to making wholesaling legal. It's like, oh well, I found I found the deal, I found the buyer. I'll just double close it and buy it. But you're marketing a property you don't own before you double close it. And so, if you're closing in the same day and with transactional funding, like he's talking about, you still are breaking the law. So it's called out specifically in the law that you can't double close. But there's situations like the loan that you guys did where it was a land deal. It was actually Scott and I's deal. It was a land deal. Wholesaling land is legal. Commercial is legal. You can wholesale commercial. You can't wholesale residential. So 1 to 4 units. And so for transactional funding, a lot of times I'll still do transactional funding for deals that are just a little weird, or if I'm making a lot of money. If I'm making upwards of $50,000 in one assignment fee, the seller sees that and the buyer sees that. It's just like, we've explained it to them, but they might look at that HUD and they might be like, I'm not okay with you making that much. And so sometimes I'll double close them at that point, just to simplify the transaction. Yep. Because we're trying to protect the consumer. And so I think they think the law is around somebody's like primary residence, like they're making sure that you're not stealing grandma's house, or taking advantage of grandma. Whereas, a commercial property, well, these are sophisticated people. They know better. If they're going to deal with a wholesaler, they're not losing the shirt off their back or their home.
All right. Before we move up front, any other questions in the back? Pierce.
That you just say, hey, this is too good. Okay. Phenomenal. Oh, that's a good one. So you should only be buying rental properties if you have a tax problem. Buying rental properties for passive income is a lie. That doesn't exist. It's nothing about. I know you guys probably try to make it. Yeah, I know you try to
That's
make
a hot take, Hayden.
as passive as possible, but it's still with 6% debt with the best DSCR loan, it's still going to be hard to make a property in Charleston cash flow. You might be able to cash flow a little better in the upstate or Orangeburg, Columbia or something. But even if I'm in North Charleston with like a 4-bedroom that I get for half price, it's still like kind of breaking even at 6%. It's just hard to cash flow unless I'm getting real creative with trying to do rent by the room or some other shit that's even less passive. And so as far as adding to the portfolio, I'm making so much money with whatever active things I have. So I'm a full-time real estate professional in the eyes of the IRS. And so all of the things I do are active income. So like the flips and the wholesaling, it's all active income. And so I can take properties that I buy and depreciate them to erase my income. And so I do that because I have a tax problem. So that's when I look at properties, it's like, okay, at the end of the year, I was frantically trying to buy like 4 houses so that I didn't have to pay a shitload in taxes. And so as far as what do I add to my portfolio, I try to I still try to give a lot of the good deals and make my quick cash. If I can assign a deal, I'm going to assign it because every time I think, oh, I'm going to buy it, I'm going to flip it or whatnot, I'll make less money than if I just wholesale. And so if I'm adding it to my portfolio, it's out of necessity. And I think most people should follow that as well. Well, a cost tag would be erased if I sold it, right? So I hold them. So I'm doing one right now. I just posted this video maybe yesterday on my Instagram. Bought it with hard money, renovated it, doing a cash out refinance with a DSCR loan. And so then there's already a tenant in there. They moved in yesterday. I got rent. And so I'll be able to, that's perfect. It's great. I might leave a little cash in there. I might do a perfect burr where I get all my cash back. Then I'm able to actually erase all of that income based on the cost seg. Do people know what I'm getting high level here? You guys know what cost segregations are? Who doesn't know what a cost segregation is? Okay. So real estate has a shelf life. So all of these buildings, everything is depreciating. Yes, it's appreciating in value because of the way that money works in the US, but it's also depreciating because stuff just gets old. That roof is rusted, like shit happens. And so the IRS sees that and they give you a write-off based on the depreciation over, I think it's like 27 and a half years. So when you buy a single family home, basically a cost segregation is you go in, you walk the property, you hire a specific person to do this, and they say, hey, the house is worth $300,000. The house is worth 200. The land is worth 100. We're going to give you $200,000 of in day one of a depreciation, all at once. And so normally the government would only give you a little bit every year. So you might be able to write off $5,000, $10,000 a year, but I want $200,000 to write off. And so I do a cost segregation on a property. If I made back in, I think in 2025, I made like $450,000. And so I just did cost segregations to erase all of that income and I paid nothing in taxes. So it's like a little like real estate hack. It's just constantly having to buy more properties, add them to the portfolio. They're appreciating, the tenant's paying down the loan balance. I'm paying nothing in taxes. It's great, but you got to keep going until you die. Then you pay taxes.
Sweet. Any other questions in the back? Those are all really great questions. All right. Middle. What questions do we have in the middle?
Sure. So I have like one commercial lot. I have a truck lot. So I have an industrial outdoor storage truck parking lot where the ports, they park a bunch of their semis. But for the most part, I keep the main thing the main thing. Like if the shiny object syndrome will kill most people's businesses. So they just go out and they get a bunch of different things. And they're like, oh, I'm going to go do this now. It's like, you're not even good at what you currently do. And so I try to keep the main thing, but we recently branched off in doing a lot more land. So not commercial, but a lot more land. And so we're flipping land. We are developing land. We're building neighborhoods. We just sold a 39 unit neighborhood where we completely designed out a neighborhood, and that was really fun. And then we did a gated neighborhood where we actually sell the last lot in this little mini neighborhood in like 2 weeks. And so those are like my fun that's like long money. So I mentioned the short money of wholesaling, the medium money is like flipping, and the long money might be the rental properties and like the big projects like the land deals and the neighborhoods and stuff. Kind of having a good mixture of both.
Sure. Good question. All right. Middle in front of the room. What questions do we have? Go ahead, Jake.
Yeah, I would say I had a question on, do you know what the board sees as it being commercial? If it's in a neighborhood, they treat it as a residential sale if they're like buying a large tract.
Oh, no. Let me clarify something. Land is not dictated by this law. So land is free. You can wholesale any type of land. It's just single family homes, and you can wholesale any type of commercial separate. An infill lot in a neighborhood, you can wholesale the shit out of that. Correct. Yep.
You can't do unless they're coming to you. So do you see any less like liability being an agent if you're double closing the deal rather than assigning it?
I think double closing it gives you more liability because now there's a paper trail. Like now they see what deals close on the same day. It's like, why did that deal close twice in the same day? Yeah. And so then it's like all eyes are on you, the light's on you. I think as an agent, you just have to be in a brokerage that understands it and is okay with it. Some brokerages will not allow it at all. And then some girl just switched brokerages and she's like, can you just like write me a check on the back end? And I was like, yeah, I do drug deals all the time. But real estate agents, they sometimes like if you do something with a broker and then your broker doesn't allow it, it just gets, muddy. And so I think like most important thing is having a brokerage that is understanding of it. And then I don't know if they allow double close and they're cool with it, then great. Then if that's what your broker allows, that's fine too. As long as you're like not if you're following the law on marketing, the attorneys will close it. It's just what's your broker going to say? Yeah. And like I said about like drug deals is like, you're going to get the same like 5 buyers that are just buying all your shit too. So like, you're going to be talking to these people all the time. And so I'm talking to my business partner. I'm like, yeah, we got a new deal. Oh, what did it like? Okay. Then he's just going to buy it. It's like, no, I'm not going to be like tapping phone lines and shit. It's just, if I'm going to be standing up in front of the court, in front of a judge, and they're like, you did 100 deals and like, did you wholesale or not? And I can say, there's no marketing. I didn't market, then I'm going to sleep good at night. But if I'm out there sending secret emails, like VIP buyer emails to like 20 people, like there's a thread, there's a chain, there's clearly a little like, you're clearly marketing. Whereas like if I'm calling my business partners, like whatever, that's my opinion.
the live work, which now a lot of things are going to. Is it
It's either or. It's either it's a single family home or it's not.
single?
Okay. I guess are they different addresses? I don't. I mean, if you're living in the home as your primary residence, that probably has some form of like the amount of properties that's going to encompass are so few that like I've never ran into it in the 200 deals. Yeah, I don't know.
You could probably make an argument either way on that. So it's all gray,
Yeah,
right? It's like you
yeah.
don't really.
I feel like the person that is renting to some boutique place in down on King Street and they renting out the property above it, that's probably a sophisticated seller. That person's not hurting for money. It's probably not, somebody that you can take advantage of in the sense that like the law wouldn't. So I don't know. I would ask the real estate commission. Happy to give you their information, but it's an interesting question. Yeah. Yep. And then one thing on that is it just changes the playbook. Even if it is residential and you want to err on the side of caution, then you just don't market it. You just, make sure that you send it out to buyers the correct way. And so they reach out to you, yep. Then you can still assign the contract, which is the main goal anyways.
And Hayden, you've been so valuable. I learned a lot tonight. How can we as a community support you?
Follow me on Instagram and then just send me DMs and then I'll see how we can do deals. Like I'm doing deals on everything. So I'm lending money, I'm buying deals, I'm doing everything. So I'm probably can help you just as equally as you could help me. And my number one quote that we have up on our board is give, ask. Because I'm always giving out stuff for free. I'm always trying to help people because it's just a two-way street. If I refer 5 lending clients to Coastal Equity and they're new flippers, well, then they're probably going to fund my weird deal and they're going to be cool with it, And so that's, they did transactional funding that like lasted a whole 7 days. It goes both ways. And so for you guys, like anything I can help you with, if you're looking at deals, anything I can underwrite, I'll try to make sure I can get to you. I always respond to my DMs. And so if you just respond and say interested, I will not respond to you. But if you say something like somewhat thought out of like, hey, I've looked at this deal, I'm going to send you a message back and I'm try to help you. And then really it's just deals, just doing deals. So if you have anything in the thing, it's the deal, the operations and the money. So if you have one of those, we can help each other out.
Can we give a round of applause for Hayden? All right. So before I let you guys go, we have 2 events coming up. First Friday of April, we have Deals, Donuts, and Coffee downtown, 9 a.m. at Bloom Coffee Shop. It's a great event. We've had great turnout. We've discussed really, really cool deals. So, please come out. That's something that interests you. And then on the 3rd Tuesday of April, so this time next month, we will be talking about how to operate short-term rentals in Charleston. So if that's something that's ever interested you, we've got a really great operator. He's done hundreds of short-term rentals across the city and the different municipalities. He's going to talk about how to do it legally, how to prepare for short-term rental, how to operate it really well. So really excited to bring him on. So thank you guys for coming out tonight. Hayden's going to stay around for a couple minutes. So thank you guys.